Under the heavy skies of the southern sea, a ship from Athens cut through the waves. Its black flag, a stark contrast against the grey clouds, whipped in the wind like a shadow of death. At the helm stood Theseus, his eyes as cold and sharp as the glint of light on the water. "Come back with white sails," his father's voice, a memory mixed with the roar of the sea, echoed in his mind. But today, Theseus was not a son. He was a warrior, committed to the path he had chosen, symbolized by the dark banner overhead. His thoughts were a swirl of recent memories, the faces of Perigune and the other Athenians he'd left behind on a nearby island. As the Cretan coastline came into view, the ship slowed its approach. Theseus alone descended the ladder, his bare feet meeting the wet, cool sand. The water lapped at his ankles as he looked toward the horizon, where the grand palace of Knossos stood silhouetted against the setting sun. Inside Knossos, the atmosphere was tense. A servant had just delivered a report to King Minos. "Theseus has landed on the coast," the servant said, "but he is completely alone." Minos's brow furrowed in confusion. "Alone? Where are Glaucus and Medea? What happened to the other Athenians?" His suspicion grew with each unanswered question. Queen Pasiphae, seated beside him, offered a chillingly cold smile. "The number of them doesn't matter, Minos. Theseus by himself is enough. Whether he conquers the labyrinth or is devoured by the Minotaur, Crete will be the victor. Every path leads to our triumph." Deucalion, Minos's son, looked up with a concerned expression. "But father, the disappearance of Glaucus and Medea is a dark omen. Perhaps we shouldn't treat Theseus as an enemy. What if he is a judge sent by the gods? If his actions appease Poseidon's wrath, he could be the savior of our kingdom, not its destroyer." Phaedra, his sister, nodded in agreement. "With the witch Medea gone, her influence has faded. This is an opportunity. If you welcome Theseus, he could become a new bridge between Athens and Crete, forging peace instead of continuing this cycle of sacrifice." Ariadne, who had been listening in silence, quietly rose from her seat. Her gaze was distant, her expression unreadable and calm. Without a word, she turned and left the council chamber, her purpose her own. Minos, lost in thought, turned back to his son. "Deucalion, who do you believe should be the one to greet Theseus and guide him here?" Deucalion's response was immediate and firm. "I will, Your Majesty. It is only fitting that the Prince of Crete should welcome the Prince of Athens. I will escort him to the palace." Minos gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Very well. Go and bring him here with the respect he is due." By now, darkness had fallen on the Cretan coast. Theseus was already on the move, walking along the shore with his spear and shield, heading towards the faint lights of a village in the distance. As he entered, he found the streets eerily quiet. Every door was shut tight against the night. He approached one house and knocked. "Can I find shelter here for the night?" Silence was his only answer. He knocked again, more forcefully this time. As he waited, shadows began to stir in the surrounding darkness. They weren't figments of his imagination. They were armed men, slowly closing in, forming a tight circle around him. One man, larger and more imposing than the rest, stepped forward. His eyes burned with a feral intensity. "I am TAURUS," he growled. "This village worships the Minotaur as a god. You who have come to kill him are an insult to our faith. Turn back now and return to your home." Theseus stood his ground, shaking his head calmly. "I have not come to challenge your faith. I am here to end the sins of Athens, to break a terrible curse. I have come under the orders of your own King Minos. To stand in my way is an act of treason against him." A cruel laugh escaped Taurus's lips. "Treason. I am already a traitor to the king. I was once a celebrated general in Crete's army, but I made the mistake of loving Minos's wife, Pasiphae. For that crime I was exiled. But the people of this village took me in. They did not abandon me. So now the Minotaur is our Garda symbol of our shared hatred for the royal family." As he spoke, the villagers raised their daggers, the polished steel glinting in the faint light. Theseus tightened his grip on his spear, his voice low and steady. "Then you will face the justice of my blade, not the wrath of your god." The fight erupted in an instant. The night was filled with the clash of iron and the desperate shouts of men. Light from the windows flickered across the chaotic scene. Theseus moved with precision, trying to injure, not kill. He parried blows, used the shaft of his spear to disarm his opponents, and struck with the flat of his blade. But for every man he knocked down, another rose to take his place, their numbers overwhelming. Finally, Taurus charged forward, roaring, a massive double-headed axe held high. "Feel the people's fury." He bellowed as he brought the weapon down in a deadly arc. Sparks flew as a stranger stood between Theseus and Taurus. "Who are you?" Taurus demanded, stunned. The man pushed back with his shield, deflecting the axe, and then slashed at its wooden handle, splintering it. He then turned to Theseus, a grin on his face. "Theseus," the voice was familiar. Theseus's eyes widened in disbelief. "Hippothys, what are you doing here?" It was his friend, the young king of Eleusis. "I heard you were sailing for Crete," Hippothys explained, "so I followed in my own ship. The gods must have guided me to this very spot." The two heroes shared a brief, triumphant smile before turning their attention back to the fight. Theseus looked at Taurus, a new confidence in his voice. "There are two of us now." Hippothys used his shield to block another wild swing from Taurus, creating an opening. In that split second, Theseus lunged forward, his spear striking Taurus in the side. The large man gasped, stumbling to his knees. Who is he?" Taurus managed to ask, clutching his wound. Theseus answered, his voice clear and strong over the howling wind. "He is Hippothys, king of Eleusis, and he is my friend." The wind whipped around them, and in the flickering light of the village, the shadows of the two heroes stood tall, side by side, ready for whatever lay ahead. The journey had just begun. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join us for the next chapter of the legend of Theseus.